The question often arises whether masturbation can have subtle negative health effects over the years. As we age, caring for our well-being becomes particularly significant, and what seemed entirely harmless in youth might lead to unforeseen consequences in later life. Individuals over 65 may not realize that a specific habit, traditionally seen as natural and safe, could pose a serious threat to their health. This article will explore the less discussed risks associated with a topic rarely openly addressed: how frequent masturbation after 65 can have unpredictable consequences for the body and overall health. While this activity is a natural part of human life, recent discussions among medical professionals suggest that, in certain cases, it may exacerbate physical and mental health issues many older adults face, often without understanding the underlying causes. We will thoroughly examine the actual impact of this habit on cardiac activity, the nervous system, and cognitive functions. We'll pay particular attention to how it can subtly influence vitality, emotional stability, and even long-term cardiovascular health. This aims to provide readers with a deeper understanding of their body's internal processes, empowering them to make informed decisions about their well-being. 1. Unexpected strain on the cardiovascular system. One of the most frequently underestimated risks associated with frequent masturbation after 65 is its impact on the heart and overall cardiovascular system functionality. While such activity might seem entirely unrelated to heart function, it's important to recognize that any activity increasing heart rate and blood pressure, especially in short but intense bursts, can create an unforeseen strain on an aging cardiovascular system. For younger individuals with strong elastic arteries, this may not pose significant concerns. However, for older adults whose blood vessels naturally lose flexibility over time, such a sudden increase in heart rate can sometimes trigger arrhythmias, dizziness, or even elevate the risk of heart attacks. Recall your sensations the last time you performed light physical exercise, such as climbing stairs or carrying heavy groceries. You likely noticed your heart working harder, your breathing quickening, and perhaps even felt a slight fatigue. Now, imagine a similar physiological reaction occurring during intense, brief activity for which the body was not prepared. Your body doesn't undergo the gradual warm-up or adaptation that typically accompanies targeted physical exertion. This means the sudden surge in heart rate can be significantly more pronounced than one realizes. This abrupt cardiovascular stress is precisely why some older adults have reported feelings of dizziness, general fatigue, or even an irregular heart rhythm after such activity. As an illustration, consider the case of William, a 72-year-old retired engineer. William always considered himself relatively healthy, carefully monitored his diet, and maintained physical activity. However, he began to notice that after certain personal activities, he experienced a strange sensation of chest tightness and shortness of breath, more pronounced than usual. Initially, he didn't pay much attention to it, but after one particularly alarming episode, he decided to mention it to his doctor during a routine checkup. To his surprise, the doctor explained that such symptoms are not uncommon for men his age, especially those with a history of high blood pressure or minor heart issues. While William wasn't required to completely abstain from this activity, his doctor strongly advised him to listen more carefully to his body's signals and avoid overexertion in ways his cardiovascular system wasn't adapted for. It's important to emphasize that this is not about instilling fear, but about raising awareness. Many older adults don't even realize how their body's reaction to this activity changes with age. As the human body ages, the recovery period after any physical or emotional exertion inevitably lengthens. Heart muscles and blood vessels no longer possess the same capacity for rapid recovery as in younger years. A sudden burst of physical effort, unsupported by prior preparation, can prove significantly more tiring than one might expect. While episodic activity itself isn't necessarily dangerous, its frequent or prolonged intensity can place significant strain on an aging cardiovascular system, even if one doesn't realize it. If you've ever noticed a sudden feeling of exhaustion, dizziness, or even mild chest discomfort after this habit, it might be worth paying close attention. Your body sends you signals, and timely recognition of these warnings can be crucial in preventing unnecessary stress on your heart. 2. Nervous system fatigue and energy depletion. Another surprising yet less discussed effect is how frequent masturbation can lead to nervous system overexertion, leaving an individual feeling drained, sluggish, and even with a sense of brain fog. The human body functions optimally due to a delicate balance of energy, hormones, and neurological signals. With age, this balance becomes more fragile. While this activity might be perceived as a momentary stress reliever, it can actually contribute to long-term depletion, causing an individual to feel more tired throughout the day without fully understanding the true reasons for this state. Imagine it this way: your nervous system is like a battery. Every action you take, whether physical activity, emotional processing, or even mental concentration, draws energy from this battery. In youth, this battery recharged quickly, and the body could withstand higher levels of stimulation without significant consequences. However, with age, the ability to replenish this energy slows down. What was once a simple act of relaxation in youth can now prove taxing for your nervous system, leading to prolonged periods of fatigue, sluggishness, or even difficulties with concentration. Consider the experience of Richard, a 69-year-old retired teacher. Richard began to notice he was inexplicably drained throughout the day, often suffered from low energy levels in the mornings, and needed several naps to cope with his daily routine. He always assumed that fatigue was simply an inherent part of the aging process. However, when he reduced certain habits for a few weeks, he was astonished to find that his energy levels significantly improved. He felt more alert, more focused, and even noticed that his sleep quality got better. The connection became clear: overuse of certain bodily systems can lead to their depletion. This realization allowed him to make adjustments that benefited his overall well-being. The reason for this is largely connected to neurotransmitters, tiny chemical messengers in your brain responsible for mood, motivation, and energy. Actions that stimulate the release of dopamine, the brain's pleasure and reward chemical, can bring momentary pleasant sensations. However, excessive stimulation can lead to a phenomenon called dopamine burnout. This means your brain's sensitivity to pleasure decreases over time, leading to feelings of sluggishness, low motivation, and even mild depressive symptoms. In youth, the brain is resilient enough to recover quickly from these fluctuations. But with age, the nervous system requires more time to recuperate. This is why some older adults who frequently engage in this habit report feeling more lethargic than before. It's not about complete cessation, but about understanding your body's changing limits and making choices that help you sustain energy rather than deplete it. If you've ever felt an unusual sense of fatigue, lack of motivation, or difficulty concentrating without an obvious reason, consider if this habit plays a role. Adjusting frequency and paying attention to how your body responds can noticeably improve your daily energy levels. 3. Sleep disruption and increased restlessness. One of the most frequently overlooked consequences of frequent masturbation in older adults is its impact on sleep quality. Many people mistakenly assume that this habit before bed will help them relax and fall asleep faster. While this might have been true in youth, the reality changes with age. Instead of leading to deep restorative sleep, it can contribute to nocturnal restlessness, frequent awakenings, and an overall feeling of being underslept the next morning. Sleep is a delicate process, controlled by a complex interplay of hormones, brain activity, and nervous system regulation. A key player in this process is melatonin, the hormone responsible for signaling your body that it's time to relax and rest. However, activities that cause a surge in dopamine, the pleasure and reward neurotransmitter, can interfere with natural melatonin production, making it harder for your body to transition into a state of deep rest. This is why some individuals find that despite an immediate feeling of relaxation, they later toss and turn, unable to sleep through the night. Consider the case of Gerald, a 74-year-old retiree who always prided himself on being an early riser. However, over the past few years, he began to notice a frustrating pattern. He would fall asleep easily but then wake up multiple times throughout the night. No matter how many adjustments he made to his evening routine, he couldn't shake the feeling of being groggy and underslept in the mornings. It was only when he read about the complex interplay of dopamine and melatonin that he realized the connection. By making small adjustments to his pre-sleep habits, Gerald was able to sleep more soundly and wake up feeling refreshed, rather than tired. Another issue often overlooked is how this habit can contribute to an overactive nervous system directly before sleep. Many older adults already suffer from conditions like restless leg syndrome, nocturnal muscle cramps, or general sleep disturbances due to age-related changes. When the nervous system is overstimulated, especially in the evening, it can hinder complete relaxation, leading to light, fragmented sleep rather than the deep restorative sleep the body needs for optimal functioning. This circumstance is highly significant because poor sleep doesn't just leave you tired the next day, it has a cumulative effect on overall health. Research has shown that chronic sleep disruption in older adults is linked to increased inflammation, a higher risk of cognitive decline, particularly memory, and even a weakened immune system. When the body doesn't get enough deep sleep, it struggles to recover, making it harder to maintain mental sharpness, physical strength, and emotional well-being. Therefore, if you are experiencing poor sleep, frequent nighttime awakenings, or a general feeling of morning fatigue, it might be worth considering if this habit plays a role. Small changes, such as adjusting the timing or frequency, can significantly improve sleep quality and help your body recover properly. 4. Increased risk of prostate irritation and urinary issues. One of the most unexpected consequences of frequent masturbation in older men is its potential impact on prostate health. Many men assume that regular activity in this area keeps it functioning smoothly, but with age, the body reacts differently. For some, excessive use can lead to increased prostate sensitivity, mild inflammation, and even an elevated risk of urinary discomfort, which was not observed in their younger years. The prostate naturally enlarges with age in men, a condition known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. This enlargement can sometimes press on the bladder, making it difficult to empty completely, leading to frequent urges to urinate, especially at night. When this area is overstimulated, the surrounding muscles and tissues can become irritated, intensifying the sensation of needing to use the restroom more often. Some men find that after frequently engaging in this habit, they experience a temporary feeling of tightness, a weaker urine stream, or even a slight burning sensation. While not always a cause for alarm, it's worth noting, especially if these symptoms begin to interfere with daily comfort. Consider Leonard, a 71-year-old retired builder. Leonard had never experienced significant urinary issues, but he noticed he was waking up more frequently at night to use the restroom. Initially, he thought it was just a part of aging. But after discussing it with his doctor, he learned that excessive prostate stimulation could sometimes exacerbate these symptoms by temporarily increasing inflammation and sensitivity. His doctor recommended taking a break from frequent activity to see if his symptoms improved. Indeed, within a couple of weeks, his nighttime bathroom trips became less frequent, and he felt more comfortable overall. Another aspect often overlooked is how frequent stimulation affects the pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor is responsible for maintaining bladder control, and these muscles naturally weaken with age. With excessive stimulation, they can become fatigued, leading to occasional leaks, sudden urges, or difficulty maintaining full control. While this might be subtle at first, over time, it can contribute to a gradual decline in urinary function. For men already experiencing mild urinary issues, this is particularly important. If you've noticed increased urgency, occasional leakage, or difficulty fully emptying your bladder, consider if frequent stimulation is contributing to the problem. Minor adjustments, such as reducing frequency or integrating specific exercises to strengthen pelvic floor muscles, can help improve urinary system health by reducing undue strain on the prostate gland. If any of the described symptoms resonate with you, it's worth paying attention to the signals your body is sending. Your personal comfort and overall well-being require careful consideration, and even minor adjustments can bring significant improvements. 5. Hormonal imbalance and mood swings. Another unexpected impact of frequent masturbation after 65 is its probable influence on hormonal balance and psycho-emotional state. Many don't realize that this activity is associated with the release of crucial hormonal substances that control energy levels, emotional stability, and even cognitive abilities. While it might seem like a short-term way to relieve tension, excessive frequency of this activity can trigger subtle yet significant hormonal fluctuations. Such changes can lead to emotional instability, increased irritability, or even mild depressive states in the days that follow. A person's daily well-being is largely determined by hormones like testosterone, dopamine, and oxytocin. Engaging in this activity causes a brief release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of pleasure and motivation. However, excessive and frequent use can trigger what's known as dopamine depletion, where the sensitivity of brain receptors to this chemical compound weakens over time. As a result, everyday activities may become less pleasurable, leading to a vicious cycle where greater and greater stimulation is required to achieve the same level of satisfaction. Some men report a lack of motivation, increased frustration, or even mild depressive symptoms without understanding why. Consider the example of Edward, a 68-year-old former accountant who was always characterized by his composure and positive outlook. However, over the past year, he began to notice inexplicable mood swings. One day he would feel energetic and focused, and the next, lethargic and easily irritable. It was only when he took a step back and carefully assessed his daily habits that he realized the connection. By making a few changes to the frequency of this activity, he noticed that his mood stabilized, his energy became more consistent, and he no longer experienced the emotional dips that had begun to permeate his daily life. Another critical factor is testosterone level regulation. While younger men produce this hormone in large quantities, its production naturally decreases with age. Frequent stimulation can sometimes lead to short-term drops in testosterone concentration, which can exacerbate feelings of fatigue, weaken motivation, and even cause subtle changes in muscle tone. Some research indicates that excessive release of certain hormones, such as prolactin, can further suppress testosterone production, leading to decreased energy in men and greater susceptibility to emotional fluctuations. This doesn't mean that all activity is bad, quite the contrary, but moderation is a key aspect. If you observe emotional instability, difficulties with motivation, or subtle changes in overall mood, it might be worth considering if hormonal fluctuations play a role. Allowing the body sufficient time to recover between episodes of stimulation can help restore natural hormonal balance, which in turn will lead to more stable energy levels and improved overall well-being. If similar emotional fluctuations have occurred without apparent reasons, know that you are not alone in this. Many older individuals encounter such changes without understanding their root cause. Even minor adjustments can significantly impact daily well-being. 6. Decreased sensitivity and reduced pleasure over time. One of the less-known consequences of frequent masturbation after 65 is how it can lead to a gradual decrease in responsiveness, making it harder over time to achieve the same level of enjoyment. Many mistakenly believe this activity is solely beneficial, helping to maintain functionality and circulation. However, it's often overlooked that excessive stimulation, especially if it becomes a habitual or regular part of daily life, can cause desensitization. In other words, the body begins to react less intensely than before. The human nervous system has the ability to adapt to repetitive stimuli. If the same type of stimulation is repeated too frequently, nerve receptors can lose their former sensitivity, leading to a need for more intense or prolonged stimulation to achieve a similar effect. This is why some older adults note that sensations that once brought them pleasure no longer feel as vivid, or that significantly more effort and time are required to reach the same level of satisfaction. In some cases, this can even lead to frustration, as what once felt easy and natural now seems to demand more focus and considerable effort. Consider the case of Robert, a 73-year-old former musician. Robert always led an active lifestyle and saw nothing wrong with maintaining certain habits formed in his youth. However, over time, he noticed a subtle but undeniable shift. What once came easily now took more time, and the sensations weren't quite the same. Initially, he attributed this to the natural aging process, but after hearing from others about similar experiences, he realized that excessive stimulation had played a role. After adjusting his habits and allowing his body more recovery time between episodes, he noticed an improvement in overall sensitivity, making the experience feel more natural and enjoyable again. Another factor at play here is nervous fatigue. Like any other part of the body, the nerve endings responsible for sensations can become overstimulated when exposed too frequently to the same repetitive activity. This can lead to a dulling effect, making reactions weaker than before. Furthermore, excessive dopamine release, especially in short bursts, can alter how the brain processes pleasure, sometimes leading to a diminished ability to experience excitement or anticipation in other areas of life. The good news is that this process is often reversible. By allowing the body more recovery time between episodes of stimulation, many individuals find that their natural sensitivity improves over time. It's not about complete cessation, but about understanding how to maintain balance so that experiences remain pleasurable rather than becoming frustrating. If you've ever felt that things aren't quite as they used to be, or that more effort is required than before, know that you are not alone. Many people experience this change without realizing the cause, but small adjustments can make a significant difference. 7. Increased feelings of loneliness and emotional detachment. One of the most frequently overlooked consequences of frequent masturbation in older adults is its potential impact on emotional well-being and social connections. While this activity might seem like a harmless way to relieve stress or pass the time, excessive reliance on it can sometimes contribute to feelings of isolation, loneliness, and emotional detachment from meaningful relationships. Humans are wired for connection. Emotional intimacy, physical contact, and deep personal interactions play a crucial role in overall happiness and mental health. When masturbation becomes the primary way to find comfort or relieve stress, it can subtly reduce the motivation to seek out real social interaction. Over time, This can lead to an increased sense of disconnection from others, making social interactions less satisfying or even unnecessary. Consider James, a 75-year-old widower. After losing his wife, James began spending more time alone, filling his days with familiar and comforting routines. Over time, he noticed he was interacting less with friends, and even when he did, the communication felt more like an obligation than a genuine desire. He didn't immediately connect these facts, but eventually realized that his habit of relying on solitary activities for comfort was subtly increasing his isolation. Once he consciously made an effort to balance his personal time with more social interaction, whether joining a local group, attending community events, or simply reconnecting with old friends, he found that his overall mood improved, and his feelings of loneliness became much less overwhelming. Such emotional detachment doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual shift that often goes unnoticed until the feeling of isolation becomes more pronounced. The brain forms habits based on reward cycles, and when a quick source of comfort is readily available, it can sometimes replace the motivation to seek deeper, more meaningful interactions. Interactions with others. This is why some older adults find themselves spending more time alone, often unaware that certain habits might be reinforcing this pattern. There's also a psychological aspect to consider. Engaging in meaningful interactions, whether through conversation, shared experiences, or even a simple handshake or hug, triggers the release of oxytocin. This hormone is linked to attachment and emotional bonding. When social interactions decrease, oxytocin levels can drop, contributing to feelings of loneliness and even mild depressive symptoms. If you've ever felt more isolated than you'd like, or if social interactions feel less fulfilling, it might be worth considering how certain habits shape these feelings. Small adjustments, like dedicating time to social events, reconnecting with old friends, or pursuing hobbies that encourage human connection, can help restore balance and satisfaction. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Social connection is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining emotional health as you age, and even minor changes can have a lasting impact. 8. Increased risk of pelvic floor weakness and bladder control issues. One lesser-known consequence of frequent masturbation in older adults is its potential impact on pelvic floor strength and bladder control. While many associate pelvic health with younger individuals or those recovering from medical conditions, the reality is that muscles supporting the bladder, prostate, and lower abdomen naturally weaken with age. Excessive strain on this area, especially if performed frequently or too intensely, can contribute to pelvic floor fatigue, leading to subtle but frustrating changes in bladder function. The pelvic floor is responsible for maintaining proper bladder control, supporting internal organs, and providing stability in the lower body. When these muscles weaken, it can lead to increased urgency, occasional leaks, or difficulty fully emptying the bladder. Many older adults assume these changes are just part of aging, but they might unknowingly be exacerbating the issue. Consider Harold, a 70-year-old retired mechanic. Harold had always been in good health, but he started noticing more frequent bathroom trips, especially at night. He also realized he sometimes experienced slight control loss when sneezing or laughing, which was new to him. After researching the link between pelvic floor health and frequent stimulation, he decided to reduce frequency and incorporate simple pelvic exercises into his daily routine. Within weeks, he noticed a real difference. His urgency decreased, and he felt more in control throughout the day. This issue is more common than many realize. Overusing pelvic muscles without adequate recovery time can lead to muscle fatigue, just like any other part of the body. Similar to how overstraining arms or legs without rest can cause soreness and reduce strength, excessive strain on the pelvic area can lead to temporary stiffness, discomfort, or decreased ability to maintain full control. Another important factor is nerve sensitivity. Nerves in the pelvic region play a crucial role in regulating bladder function. When overstimulated, they can send mixed signals to the brain, creating a false sense of urgency or causing the bladder to react unpredictably. This is why some people notice an increase in nighttime awakenings to use the restroom, even if their overall fluid intake hasn't changed. The good news is that these issues can often be addressed with minor lifestyle adjustments. Reducing frequency, incorporating simple pelvic floor exercises, and paying attention to how your body responds can help restore control and reduce unnecessary strain on these vital muscles. If you've ever noticed unexpected changes in bladder function, increased urgency, or occasional leaks, it might be worth considering how certain habits impact your pelvic floor strength. Small changes can lead to noticeable improvements in comfort and confidence. Final thoughts. To summarize, take a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed. Many habits that seemed harmless in youth can have unexpected consequences with age, and masturbation is no exception. From its impact on cardiovascular health and nervous system fatigue to its role in hormonal balance, sleep quality, and pelvic floor strength, it's clear that moderation and mindfulness are key. The goal here isn't to create unnecessary worry, but to provide valuable insights that empower you to make informed decisions about your well-being. One of the most important takeaways is that your body is always communicating with you. If you notice changes in energy, mood, bladder control, or even overall satisfaction, paying closer attention to your habits might reveal patterns you hadn't considered before. Minor lifestyle adjustments, whether reducing the frequency of certain habits, optimizing sleep routines, or actively engaging in social life, can significantly impact one's daily well-being. It's encouraging to note that many of the effects described are correctable. By being attentive to your body's signals, you can maintain a sense of vitality and self-assurance throughout your mature years.